pregnant, that nigga waiting like an expectant father not knowing who the baby is. The world don't know I used the rubber, so it ain't mine.
Known for his groundbreaking music, revolutionary activism, and the mystery surrounding his tragic death, Tupac Shakur left behind a legacy that continues to influence generations. But what does life look like now for the icon whose potential was tragically cut short? In this video, we take you inside Tupac's untold story, from the abandoned house that symbolizes a life unfulfilled to his complicated relationships with his wife and family. We'll explore the career milestones that cemented his place as a cultural legend, the decisions that made him both loved and controversial, and his estimated net worth in 2025. This isn't just a story of fame, it's about how a man's impact on music, culture, and activism continues to echo long after his death. Childhood and early ambitions. Tupac Shakur's story begins far from the spotlight in the heart of New York City's East Harlem. Born on June 16, 1971, Tupac was the child of Afeni Shakur, a determined activist with the Black Panther Party, and Billy Garland, a man whose absence would leave a lasting impact on Tupac's life. Raised in the throes of political struggle, poverty, and social unrest, Tupac's early years were shaped by circumstances that few could fully understand. His world was one where survival meant more than success, and resistance was a way of life. Afeni Shakur, his mother, was a force of nature, a woman whose activism and deep commitment to justice would become the cornerstone of Tupac's own beliefs. Afeni's unwavering dedication to equality not only influenced her son's worldview, but also taught him the importance of using his voice for change. Her lessons on activism weren't just about fighting for a cause. They were about fighting for the power of words. Afeni believed in the transformative potential of art, and she passed that belief on to Tupac at a young age. In a world filled with struggle, she instilled in him the knowledge that words and creativity could serve as both weapons and shields. As a young boy, Tupac experienced the hardships of his environment firsthand. The struggles of his community, the harsh realities of life for marginalized groups, were something he carried with him. But instead of feeling confined by these circumstances, Tupac began to see them as a catalyst for his own artistry. He wasn't just growing up in an environment of adversity, he was witnessing firsthand how adversity could fuel change. When Tupac moved to Baltimore as a teenager, his artistic ambitions took shape. At the Baltimore School for the Arts, Tupac found a space to cultivate his love for music, poetry, and acting. Here, he flourished. His passion for performance and storytelling was undeniable. At just 15, he met Jada Pinkett, a young woman whose friendship would later prove to be one of the most significant in his life. But it wasn't just the friendships that would define Tupac's teenage years. It was his undeniable talent. His poetry, full of raw emotion and unapologetic truth, began to take on a life of its own. Each verse, each line, was a testament to the pain of a community that had been neglected, ignored, and silenced. By this point, Tupac was not just an aspiring artist. He was a revolutionary in the making. His art was not about chasing fame or fortune, but about speaking truth to power and giving voice to those who had been silenced. Tupac had already recognized the power of art to not only reflect the world around him, but to change it. He knew that his purpose was far greater than self-glorification. His art was meant to change the world, to give voice to the voiceless, and to be a beacon of resistance for the oppressed. Initial career breakthrough. In 1990, Tupac Shakur's life took a crucial turn when he moved to California. It was here, in the heart of the West Coast music scene, that his path intersected with the rapidly growing world of hip-hop. But for Tupac, it wasn't the fame or fortune that beckoned. It was the opportunity to use music as a platform for speaking his truth, addressing issues of inequality, and shedding light on the struggles of the marginalized. This was a place where his voice could carry weight and spark the change he believed in. Initially, Tupac's entrance into the music industry was humble. He began as a backup dancer for the influential hip-hop group Digital Underground. Known for their funky beats and lighthearted style, Digital Underground was a major force in early 90s hip-hop, and it was through them that Tupac would first step onto the stage. But Tupac's ambition and unique talent didn't stay hidden for long. It wasn't long before his lyrical skills caught the attention of Shock G, the group's frontman. In 1991, Tupac made his first significant appearance on the track Same Song, where he rapped alongside the group. His voice, distinct and filled with raw energy, stood out even in this collective, foreshadowing the incredible potential that would soon unfold. The real turning point came in 1991 with the release of his debut album, Tupac Now. This album was nothing short of revolutionary, a raw, unapologetic exploration of the trials faced by America's underprivileged communities. Tracks like Brenda's Got a Baby stood out as poignant commentaries on societal issues that were often ignored or glossed over by the mainstream. The song delved into the story of a 12-year-old girl who became pregnant and the devastating cycle of poverty and neglect she faced. This was just one example of Tupac's ability to tackle taboo subjects, such as abortion, poverty, and systemic injustice, with poetic precision and stark honesty. The album sent shockwaves through the music world. Critics were stunned by Tupac's audacity to speak out about such sensitive topics, and the public reacted strongly, both positively and negatively. In addressing issues such as police brutality and the struggles of women and children, Tupac ignited a conversation that America had long avoided. Tupacalypse. Now wasn't just the debut of a new artist. It was the birth of a powerful voice in hip-hop, one that demanded to be heard, no matter the cost. By this time, Tupac was no longer just a backup dancer. He was an artist with a message, a revolutionary force in the making. His talent was undeniable, and his voice could no longer be ignored. The world had witnessed the arrival of a star, and Tupac's rise was only just beginning. The journey ahead would be marked by both triumph and controversy, but one thing was clear: Tupac was destined to leave an indelible mark on the world. Rise to fame. By 1993, Tupac Shakur had transformed from an emerging artist into a cultural phenomenon. His raw talent, coupled with his unapologetic honesty, had captured the attention of millions. Tupac's rise to fame felt almost inevitable. His voice and his message resonated deeply with a generation yearning for change and truth. He became more than just a rapper. He became a symbol of rebellion, of resistance, and of raw, unfiltered authenticity. Yet, with fame came immense scrutiny. The pressure of living up to his newfound status and the expectations placed upon him weighed heavily on his shoulders. His every move was being watched, and with each success came new challenges, both professionally and personally. The release of Me Against the World in 1995 marked a pivotal moment in Tupac's career. The album was a deeply personal reflection of his struggles, triumphs, and the complexities of his life. It was raw, vulnerable, and at times painfully honest. With tracks like Dear Mama, Tupac showcased his ability to blend vulnerability with strength. The song was a heartfelt tribute to his mother, Tupac Shakur, and it resonated with listeners on an intimate level. It offered a glimpse into the pain Tupac carried from his tumultuous childhood, the impact of growing up in poverty, and the love-hate relationship he had with the world around him. This album solidified Tupac not just as a rapper, but as an artist, capable of profound emotional depth. Then came All Eyes on Me, a groundbreaking release in 1996 that would forever change the trajectory of his career. As the first double album in hip-hop history, it was a monumental achievement, both in terms of its scale and its cultural significance. All Eyes on Me was filled with anthems that would define an era, including the smash hits California Love and How Do You Want It. With this album, Tupac became a crossover star, transcending the boundaries of hip-hop and reaching mainstream audiences. He was no longer just a rapper, he had become a global icon. His larger-than-life persona, marked by his fearless attitude and magnetic energy, captivated fans from all walks of life. But Tupac's rise to fame was not without its conflicts. The East Coast-West Coast rivalry, which had been simmering in the background for years, exploded into the spotlight during the mid-90s. His public feuds with the notorious B.I.G. and his increasingly tense relationship with the media became as much a part of his narrative as his music. His disputes with fellow artists and his complicated personal life fueled the drama surrounding his image, but Tupac thrived in the spotlight, using the attention to further his voice and his cause. Despite the chaos and the controversies, Tupac remained true to himself. His music, activism, and relentless pursuit of change within the music industry and society made him a voice that couldn't be ignored. He wasn't just a star, he was a movement, one that inspired millions and continues to resonate long after his untimely death. Tupac's rise to fame was not just about achieving success. It was about using that success to amplify his message and to challenge the status quo. Career highlights and achievements. Tupac Shakur's career, though tragically brief, was a series of groundbreaking moments that forever changed the landscape of hip-hop and popular culture. By the mid-1990s, Tupac was not just a rapper. He was an institution, a cultural touchstone, and a voice for millions who felt unheard. The release of Me Against the World in 1995 was a defining moment in Tupac's career. The album was raw, deeply introspective, and unapologetically honest. Songs like Dear Mama revealed the emotional depth that often lay beneath the tough exterior that the media loved to focus on. Tupac's ability to express vulnerability, particularly his complicated relationship with his mother, Afeni Shakur, resonated with listeners on a personal level. It wasn't just a song about motherhood, it was a testament to the struggle of being raised in an environment shaped by poverty and activism. But Me Against the World was just the beginning of what would be an unparalleled run of success. In 1996, Tupac released All Eyes on Me, the first double album in hip-hop history. The album not only cemented his position as one of the greatest artists of his generation, but it also reshaped the way albums were conceived and executed. Packed with hits like California Love and How Do You Want It, All Eyes on Me became a defining work of 90s hip-hop, blending party anthems with introspective tracks that spoke to his struggles with fame, love, and betrayal. Tupac's ability to weave personal narratives with broader social commentary was perhaps his greatest gift. Tracks like Keep Your Head Up and Changes became anthems of empowerment and resistance, reflecting his deep concern for social justice issues, especially regarding women, racial inequality, and the struggles faced by those living in America's inner cities. His lyrics were not just words, they were calls to action, urging listeners to fight for a better future, to stand tall in the face of adversity. But Tupac was more than just a rapper. He was a multi-dimensional artist. His acting career also flourished during the mid-90s, with memorable performances in films like Juice, 1992, Poetic Justice, 1993, and Above the Rim, 1994. In these films, he brought a level of depth and complexity to his roles that mirrored the intensity and vulnerability he showed in his music. Whether on screen or in the recording studio, Tupac exuded an authenticity that made him a rare and captivating figure. Awards followed in droves. His albums went multi-platinum, and his name became synonymous with both excellence and controversy. He was nominated for multiple Grammy Awards, and his influence extended far beyond music. Tupac became the face of resistance and self-expression for a generation. His boldness and unwavering commitment to his beliefs made him a hero to many and a figure of constant fascination for the media. Even in his death, Tupac's legacy remained untouchable. He posthumously released several albums that continued to top charts and inspire new generations of artists. His influence on hip-hop is undeniable, and his music remains a cornerstone of the genre. Tupac Shakur wasn't just a rapper, he was a revolutionary, an artist who used his platform to speak on behalf of the unheard, and in doing so, changed the world. Relationships and marriage. Tupac Shakur's relationships were as complex and multifaceted as the man himself. He was a lover, a friend, and a partner who often found himself torn between his intense public life and the private desires of his heart. His love life was filled with moments of tenderness and turmoil, illustrating his struggle to reconcile the man he was with the celebrity he had become. One of Tupac's most talked about relationships was with actress Jada Pinkett. The two met in the early 1990s at the Baltimore School for the Arts, where they forged a deep and enduring friendship. Though their bond was never romantic in the way the media often speculated, their connection was undeniably profound. Jada, a bright and ambitious young woman in her own right, was one of the few people who saw beyond the fame and the bravado to the vulnerable, poetic soul beneath. Tupac often spoke about their bond, describing her as one of the few individuals who truly understood him. They supported each other through the trials of their respective careers, even as their paths diverged. Tupac's feelings for Jada were clear. He loved her deeply, but their relationship was complicated by the turbulence of Tupac's life. Jada, for her part, often spoke about how she wished she could have helped Tupac channel his energy and pain in healthier ways. Their relationship, full of mutual respect, never blossomed into romance, but it remained one of the most significant and heartfelt of Tupac's life. In contrast, Tupac's brief marriage to Keisha Morris in 1995 was far more conventional, yet equally complicated. The two had known each other for a short time before getting married, but their union was overshadowed by the turmoil in Tupac's life. Just months after their marriage, Tupac found himself incarcerated for sexual assault charges. The pressures of his prison sentence, combined with the constant media scrutiny, put a strain on their relationship. They eventually separated, though they remained friends until Tupac's untimely death. Despite his turbulent personal life, Tupac had a way of drawing people close to him, creating lasting friendships that outlasted the ups and downs of his fame. His relationship with his mother, Afeni Shakur, was one of the most important in his life. Afeni, a former Black Panther, was not only his mother, but his guiding force, instilling in him the principles of activism, resilience, and self-expression. Their bond was one of love and mutual respect, and Tupac's devotion to her was evident in many of his songs. Tupac's love life was marked by contradictions, an enduring connection with Jada that never turned romantic, a brief marriage that was tested by his legal battles, and a profound love for his mother, who shaped him in ways that few could comprehend. In the end, his relationships reflect the complexities of a man who was both deeply caring and tragically lost in the whirlwind of his own fame. Family life and parenting. Though Tupac Shakur never had children of his own, his life was shaped by an unshakable connection to family, both biological and chosen. The influence of his mother, Afeni Shakur, was pivotal. She was his rock, his guiding star in a world full of chaos. Raised by a woman deeply involved in the Black Panther Party, Tupac grew up with a fierce sense of activism and a love for storytelling. Afeni's commitment to social justice left a lasting imprint on him, influencing not just his music, but his desire to leave a meaningful legacy. Tupac was a father figure to many, even though he never had biological children of his own. His relationships with his extended family, particularly his godson, were integral parts of his life. He expressed a longing for the kind of family life he never had, often speaking about the need for stability and the yearning to build a family of his own. Yet, his turbulent career and constant travel left little room for that dream to fully materialize. Despite his chaotic lifestyle, Tupac understood the importance of nurturing the younger generation. He often spoke about the need for better representation and support for youth in marginalized communities, and his music frequently addressed themes of family and responsibility. Songs like "Keep Your Head Up" reflect his deep empathy for single mothers and the struggles they faced. Tupac's voice became one of guidance for young listeners, many of whom saw him as a mentor, even if he wasn't a father in the traditional sense. In his later years, Tupac became more vocal about his desire to raise a family and provide the stability he had lacked in his own youth. His marriage to Keisha Morris, though short-lived, was a step toward building a family unit. However, the pressures of Tupac's public persona, his legal troubles, and his stint in prison meant that he couldn't fully experience the fatherhood he craved. Despite the absence of his own children, Tupac's legacy as a family man is most clearly seen in the way his influence continues to shape his loved ones. After his death, his mother, Afeni Shakur, became the driving force behind preserving his legacy. Through the Tupac Amaru Shakur Foundation, she worked tirelessly to ensure that her son's messages of love, unity, and resistance lived on. Tupac's dream of nurturing the next generation, though left incomplete in his lifetime, continues to inspire through the work of those he left behind. Tupac may not have had a traditional family, but the relationships he built, both with his blood relatives and the wider community, were a testament to his deep desire to protect, uplift, and guide those who needed it most. Tragic death and impact. On September 13, 1996, the world lost one of its most influential and complex figures. Tupac Shakur, who had spent much of his life speaking truth to power, advocating for the voiceless, and defying the odds, was fatally shot in a drive-by shooting in Las Vegas. He was only 25 years old. His death, shrouded in mystery and surrounded by conspiracy theories, sent shockwaves through the world of hip-hop, the entertainment industry, and beyond. The events leading up to Tupac's death were as tumultuous as the life he led. Just days before the shooting, Tupac had been involved in an altercation at the MGM Grand Hotel following a Mike Tyson fight. That incident sparked a chain of events that culminated in the fatal shooting. Tupac was struck by 4 bullets, one of which pierced his lung, and despite undergoing surgery, he succumbed to his injuries 6 days later, leaving behind a legacy of music, art, and activism that still resonates to this day. Tupac's death was not just the loss of a musical prodigy, it was the loss of a revolutionary voice in a time when the world desperately needed change. His sudden passing left fans, family, and the hip-hop community in shock. To this day, questions about the circumstances of his murder remain unanswered. Was it the result of an East Coast-West Coast rivalry? Was it a consequence of the violence that often surrounded him? Or was Tupac's death simply the tragic outcome of a life spent walking the razor-thin line between fame and danger? Despite the uncertainty surrounding his death, one thing is clear: Tupac's impact is immeasurable. In the years following his passing, his music continued to shape the landscape of hip-hop, and his messages of resistance, resilience, and empowerment have endured. Songs like Changes, Keep Your Head Up, and Dear Mama are not just hip-hop anthems. They are timeless pieces of art that speak to universal struggles of inequality, survival, and hope. Tupac's death also served as a wake-up call to the music industry and the world. It highlighted the dangerous intersection of fame, violence, and rivalry that plagued hip-hop during the 90s. His passing forced the industry to reckon with the very real consequences of glorifying violence. And in the years since, his death has become a cautionary tale, a reminder of the fragility of life and the fleeting nature of fame. Yet, even in death, Tupac's legacy continues to grow. His influence can be seen in the music of today's artists, in the cultural conversations around race and social justice, and in the ongoing debate about the price of fame. Tupac may have left this world far too soon, but his impact is eternal, and his voice remains as powerful as ever. The Abandoned House. Tupac Shakur's life may have been cut short, but even in death, remnants of his journey remain scattered across the landscape of his memory. Among the most poignant symbols of his untimely end is his abandoned house, a silent witness to the man he was and the future he never had a chance to fulfill. Located in the quiet, almost forgotten corners of the world, Tupac's house stands as a physical metaphor for his life, unfinished, chaotic, and abandoned before its time. After his death, the property became a symbol of the legacy he left behind, a legacy that, like the house, was full of potential yet uncompleted. The house, which once held the dreams of a man who had hoped for peace, stability, and family, now stood eerily empty. The walls that once might have echoed with laughter, music, or the quiet moments of someone who had lived so passionately were now hollow. In a way, the state of the house reflected Tupac's own journey. He had lived a life marked by extremes, an artist of boundless energy and vision, yet a man constantly fighting the demons of violence, controversy, and his own inner struggles. His home, like his music, was a place of both refuge and turmoil. The house, though abandoned, stood as a testament to what Tupac had fought for: the opportunity to be more than just a product of his environment, to build something lasting, to create a family and a sense of belonging in a world that often felt indifferent to his pain. After his death, the house was left in limbo, much like his legacy. It stood as a reminder of all the dreams Tupac had yet to realize, and the family life he had longed for but never truly achieved. His belongings, poems, letters, books, were left behind, untouched and forgotten by time. These physical remnants, like the songs he wrote, told a story of a man who had far more to offer than the world would ever see. While Tupac's house may have been abandoned, the spirit that once inhabited it, the ambition, the defiance, the quest for justice, lives on. It serves as a quiet yet powerful symbol of all that Tupac was, and all that he might have become, if not for the violence that ultimately claimed his life. In the end, the abandoned house, much like Tupac's unfinished life, holds an undeniable weight. It reminds us of the fragility of existence and the void left when someone who had so much left to give is taken too soon. Tupac Shakur's life was one that defied convention. From his roots in the turbulent streets of East Harlem to his rise as a global icon, his journey was filled with triumphs, trials, and contradictions. He was an artist, a poet, a revolutionary, and a voice for the unheard. His work transcended music. It was a call to action, a mirror reflecting the struggles of the oppressed, and a beacon of hope for those caught in the grips of hardship. Yet, despite his monumental success and influence, Tupac's story was tragically short-lived. At just 25, his death left the world in shock, leaving questions that have yet to be answered. What might he have achieved if his life had not been taken so suddenly? What impact would he have had on the world had he been given more time to fulfill his vision? These questions linger, unanswered, but they also serve as a testament to the incredible promise Tupac held. Though he was taken too soon, Tupac's legacy is one that will never fade. His music continues to inspire, his words still echo through the halls of social justice movements, and his influence is felt in every corner of hip-hop and beyond. Through his songs, his activism, and his willingness to speak out against injustice, Tupac became a symbol of resilience, a man who stood for change even when the world was against him. The house he left behind, now abandoned, stands as a metaphor for a life cut short. Yet, it also serves as a reminder of the untold potential and the unfinished dreams that Tupac carried with him. His work is a living testament to the power of art, activism, and the pursuit of truth. Even in his absence, his voice remains as powerful as ever. Tupac may no longer walk among us, but his spirit lives on. His legacy is not defined by the circumstances of his death, but by the impact he made in his brief yet extraordinary life. In the words of Tupac himself, "I won't be the one to say goodbye. My legacy will always stay alive." And in the hearts of those who continue to be inspired by his life, his message, and his music, Tupac Shakur will never truly be gone.